Hey guys, it's Kiaja McCabe from GALvanize's Who, Not Do interview series. Today I'll be interviewing Keiana Martin, senior reporter for the San Francisco 49ers. My first question is, so if I wanted to get to know who you are, and not mentioning reporter, not mentioning who you are in the interviews and things like that, just you as a person, where would I need to start?
You would start that I am a California girl at heart who truly loves, I live by the three F's: faith, family, and football. And has nothing to do with my career, but that's just how I was raised. And my family, we bonded over sports and sitting in front of the TV on Sunday nights. That's just who we were as a family. So I feel like I stand on those three F's, and then I'm going to throw food in there too because I love food. But you know what? I'm just a person, like, I love being around my family. I love being around my friends. I love traveling. And I, I'm trying to see what else. I just enjoy just a good time. It's simply put. I think I'm a pretty fun person. My friends say I am. I don't know if they're just saying that, but that's me in a nutshell.
Right, and I love food as well. What's your favorite food?
Oh, that is so tough because I love everything. I love to eat, but I will say I'm big on Italian food. Italian is my thing. I can always go for an Italian dish.
Yes, I love spaghetti with lots of Parmesan.
Yes, lots of
Lots
Parmesan.
of Parmesan. And is that has it been challenging for you? If people ask like who you are, do you naturally gear towards, oh, I'm a reporter for 49ers? Is it, challenging to just talk about who you are, where you come from and everything like that?
Yeah, it is. And I don't know if it's a bad thing. I haven't really thought about it completely, but a lot of what I've done in the past has been tied to my work. And I'm in this weird situation where, like, a lot of people, they try to get away from work by doing things, whereas for me, work is my escape. So it's really hard for me to balance, like, okay, sometimes I really do need to, like, just put the laptop down and, like, step away and enjoy myself and do something else, which it's a blessing and it's a curse to love what you do but also need to still, like, get away from what you do.
Right.
So because of that, I tie myself into, like, oh, I do this or I'm the reporter for that. But it's just something that just, it's natural for me because it's what I've been doing for so long. Not that I want what my job to be to define me, but I'm very proud of the work that I've done and the road it's taken me to get to where I am. So I guess I can show that some love.
Right, right. As you should, as you should. You definitely inspire many women, including the women in Galvanize, and including myself. You're a woman of color, we're women of color, Black women, and I know that's a huge, definition of who you are. How has it been as a Black woman navigating through life in this industry? What have you learned about being a Black woman?
I feel like being a Black woman, you have to be very careful. And when I say that, I mean when I'm on the job, when I'm out in public, I have to remember that I'm not only representing myself, I'm not only representing my family, I'm not only representing the San Francisco 49ers, but I am also representing Black women. And I think that plays in the back of my mind, anytime I'm out or I'm at on the job, I want to make sure that I am representing Black women well. So it's kind of like an added pressure, but it's a pressure that I welcome because I want other girls to be like, I like her. Even, what, even not limiting it to Black women. I just want women in general to be like, wow, like, look at her.
Right.
And I think that's something that I strive for. And also with that, I do want to make, the fellow women of color and the fellow African American women, I want to make them proud as well.
Right, right. And, like I said, we have many women in Galvanize and all over the world and in many colleges, women of color, embarking their journey in sports. Do you think, we'll have it easier as we're just beginning than you had it when you were just beginning? Do you think we'll have it easier now that, more women of color and just women in general have paved the way? Or do you think we'll still have those barriers?
You know what I will say, and this is being 100% transparent, I believe as times change and things progress, that now I'm going to center this first towards just women in general, that I believe that more opportunities will become available to women. I think people are starting to understand that now women can have the same roles as men. They can talk the game the same way as men. And one person that I think about when I think of great broadcasters, I think of Doris Burke. And I don't think anybody can replace her because she is so great at her job. Now, when I talk about Black women and, you know, the path for them and getting jobs and moving up the ladder in this field, I do believe that opportunities will become available. And I say that because of the happenings in this country over the last few months. I think it was kind of an opportunity for different companies and networks to take a look in the mirror and say, okay, wow, I don't have any Black women on my roster. Why is our company 95% white males? What's going on here? And I think, and it's so unfortunate that this had to happen for people to understand and realize this, but I do think that it's an eye-opening event that will allow a lot of people to kind of self-reflect and like look at their organization and say, hey, there's some changes that need to be made.
But you bring up a great point. You know, the events that have been happening in our country in the last few months, and honestly forever, but in the last few months in particular. Like I said, I just got my first on-air job, but I had a couple interviews this summer, and a couple of stations straight up told me like they're looking to fill that void of a person in color, and appreciate their honesty, but it was quite sad. But so that brings me to my next question. Do you think this attention and needing to fill voids and things like that will last, or do you think simply it's just because of what the country has gone through this past year?
I want to say, and I'm going to say this from like an emotional standpoint, I just hope that this isn't a fad. I hope that this country in general and across the world that we're taking progressive steps towards equality, to being able to see a person for their talent, not saying like, you know, we need to fill this quota of having this many Black people, but they see that there's so many talented Black people, there's so many talented Latino people that can fill this role. And I truly hope that this just isn't, you know, just coming off of the heels of what happened and trying to fill this temporary void. And I do hope that things start to change for the better in the future.
Right, right. I do too. And I'm not gonna take up too much of your time, but I was going through your website and I saw on your about page that at the bottom you have a quote. You says, "You miss 100% of the shots you never take." Tell me what that means pertaining to your life's journey.
Oh, that's a really great question. And I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory. So back when I used to live in Los Angeles, I was invited to the ESPN studios, which is in downtown LA. Well, it's called LA Live. I don't know if it still is, but we got to take a tour and I did like a radio interview. And I saw on the walls, they had like different quotes from different athletes on the wall. And that one, I mean, of course, so many people have like requoted what Wayne Gretzky said. But I don't know, when I saw it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like it's so true. It means I think it applies to everything. It's not just sports, it's work, it's about family, it's about a number of topics. So it stuck with me from that moment. But I would say, just in my career path, I'm not the biggest like networker, and that's something that I've always wanted to get better at. And I feel like a lot is who you know, getting to know and building relationships with people. But a lot of that is you need to be the one to go out and create those relationships. And it could be as simple as, you know, you're at an event and you see somebody that you're like, oh my gosh, I know that person, but you're like, I don't really want to go talk to them. But being able to just even introduce yourself, it can go a long way. And that's like a shot. If you completely really just like, you know what, I'm just going to leave them alone, you could be missing out on an opportunity. So that's one of the things that I've even been going outside of my comfort zone to build those relationships, to get my name out there, to just to kind of open up what I normally wouldn't do. So that's just one of the examples, but also not limiting yourself. Just even if there's a job and you're just like, oh, they're not going to want me. I can't see them, having interest in a person like me, my experience, my this, my that. You never know. And I think that's just another one of those examples of, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, you never know. So going for it is, I think, my biggest mantra.
And you really inspired me. If there was any advice that you would tell me that I can take on my journey, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, that's a really good question. But okay, I'm just going to rattle off some things that come to mind. One is a closed door doesn't mean an end of an opportunity or an end of your road or a chance. I've had a million doors closed in my face. I can tell you when I first started out, I applied to maybe, and I'm being 100% honest, I probably applied to 150 jobs, and I maybe got 2 to 3 interviews, never got those jobs. So at some point, like I started to feel extremely defeated. Like, okay, well, maybe this isn't it. Maybe this just isn't for me. But I was just like, you know what? I'm going to keep at it. Like something in me is telling me like, keep going. And I'm so glad I did, because after probably 150 applications that I sent, one called me back, and that one job was the Kansas City Chiefs. And that job is basically how I got to where I am today. If it was not for me getting that job, I would definitely hands down not be where I'm at. So I think not being deterred by, getting a no, that's a big one. Also, big lesson, going back to what I just said, building relationships, networking. It's so huge, and it helps me even to this day. Like what I'm doing now, I have live shows, and I'm like, okay, I need guests for these shows, because I'm a one-man band over here. Other teams have about 4 to 5 different people, but it's just me doing everything. So being able to call up, hey, I need to talk to Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football because I need a guest to talk a little bit about this 49ers season. Being able to build that relationship, if I never really got to network with him, talk with him, build a relationship, there's no way he would have come on the show for me. I'm sure he has a million other requests. So just kind of nurturing those relationships, I think that's a really, really big piece of advice. And I'm probably getting long-winded here, but I'm just trying to think like, what's the things that I wish I could go back and tell myself? I would also say, this was really, really big for me, that no job is too small. And I say that because starting off, I worked for free for so many years, but I did it because I wanted that experience. I wanted to also build relationships, and I also wanted to get that experience on my reel as well. And if it wasn't for some of those smaller gigs that nobody really wanted, it wouldn't have gotten me to where I'm at. And even to this day, like in my role, I'm still nowhere where I want to be ultimately, but I would say I'm not like I'm saying yes to like every single thing, but there's things I'm still like, it's not paid, but I can get good exposure, I can get good experience. I still don't say no to those, because it's always about continuing to better yourself and continuing to learn. So those are my 3 biggest takeaways and lessons and things I would love for you to hold on to as you go into this amazing, yet challenging, yet frustrating, but incredible field.